G'day punters, welcome back to the Punters Academy. John Walter from racingwatch.com.au. G'day John.
G'day mate.
I'm staring at an empty office because I've had half a dozen ladies here packing about 155 boxes this morning. So
you should have rang me to help you. I wouldn't have answered.
Ready for the move tomorrow, but which is a separate thing. Geez, it's stressful. I'll tell you what, I haven't done it for about 11 years or something, and
you're a better man than me. Rebecca always says I leave the state anytime we move. I'm never within 800 kilometres of the place anytime we move. I hate it with a passion. Anyway,
that's the delay for today in terms of recording. So let's get into Randwick from Saturday, John. We had fine weather, luckily. Very sticky and testing track. 10.4 it's come out on the shoot races, and it's come out a bit faster on the course proper, but we'll say that the going afforded to jocks was genuine heavy 10 and a bit worse than heavy 10, and we saw some interesting developments on Saturday in terms of the way some of these races were run and some of the performances, and really it seemed to be a tale of two tracks. If you weren't up on the speed or close to it in a lot of those races, you pretty much had none. It was very difficult and virtually impossible to come from back and make ground. And we saw some absentees in terms of performances with Godolphin and the Wallace stable not really featuring in these races, but which is a bit unusual. Anyway, we'll get into them. Let's start with the Fern Hill.
It was a weird track. Like we talked about it briefly before we come on. Like it was very hard to describe it all. And it seems like the further the races were, the harder it was to run on, because then it seems to say that it was, really taking it out of them, just getting through the ground, and trying to run on after doing that work seemed near impossible. I guess that's the easiest way I can make sense of it. The shorter the race, you could run into it a bit with a bit of tempo. The further it was, the more the track was biased. That's just my opinion. All right.
Let's get into the Fern Hill, the 1,600 metre 2-year-old race to start with. Worst time figures of the day by a long way. They had a fast tempo early and it really poor last sections. These horses were pretty much at the end of their preps, I would have thought. Coming into this race, and we saw Williamsburg dominate after being a little bit slow out and getting a bump. It's managed to get away with the race and beat.
It looks like he won it there, doesn't it? It looks like he actually that won him the race. Like not taking part in whatever this was, probably saved him a bit of fresh legs, didn't it, in the end of the race? But yeah.
Well, that was the Cummings horse, Coat, over racing badly in the lead there and not being able to finish off the race. Pulled up slow to recover, and there was a little bit of specking for the horse too. It was sort of 9-1 into 15-2, but it's gone a bit mental. Macalate had a bit of support. Stewart sort of reined Tommy Sherry in and said, "Look, what are you doing here? You've settled too far back, or allowed yourself to get shuffled back from that early position," which I suppose was a bit of a
I thought it was the worst ride I've seen in a small field possibly ever. Like to jump in front and not to say that Cote and everything and a few things went, but to end up 5 wide and last when you've jumped a half in front was a talented effort. I don't know if it's off the horse of the race.
No, you're giving away your advantage though, haven't you? So
100%. Like he's ended up behind Williamsburg, who did no work for the first 400 metres of the race, and he was up there in the firing line for the first 200 or 300. So yeah, and then he's given him his run here, and he actually wasn't too bad on the line. So he'll make a horse next prep, I'd say, for sure.
But all these sections, as I said, like the ridiculous, that last 800 was about minus 21 lengths on track and distance standards. The 8-4 in particular was absolutely woeful, minus 11.4, and the last 400 minus 9.4 in terms of lead, track and distance sectionals. I don't know what to say here. These are all going to sort of
I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it that these horses are at the end of their prep, so we don't really have to review it. Like it's going to be a run that you don't take too much notice of next prep because they're at the end of their preps and they've done a good job and whatever. But you'd be nearly penning most of this as a form reference, I'd say. And going forward, maybe Gaze will end up in Brisbane or something, but probably unlikely as well.
Yeah, okay. So let's move on to the South Pacific Classic, Race 2, the 1,400 3-year-old. Valana here appreciated the conditions, well backed, and fortunately gave me a little bit of a joy. I managed to get on the board anyway.
Good ride. Did you expect it to lead?
Didn't expect it to lead, no. But
No,
it
it was good. Like, he
ride.
seems to be riding really well, Sam. Whereas I reckon 2 months ago he drags that horse out of the race as soon as the military expert sort of gets a neck in front of him. He starts looking over his shoulder and looks to reverse park it. Whereas now that he's got a bit of confidence, and it makes all the difference at the end of the race.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lock Eagle was, I thought, pretty short, despite the fact that it had that form franked around that straight Aaron horse, who it was just, I don't think Lock Eagle gets anywhere near it again. The horse, the leader winner, and it's appreciated the conditions well, and I think Gay's horse is going for a spell.
Shahonka, yeah, it's had a long hard prep. Yep.
Not many excuses, I would say. For the others, it's also pulled up with slow recovery, and the James Cumming horse, I think it was over racing a fair bit, so not much to say there, I don't think. Is there, from your point of view? Maybe the winner only?
Yeah, well, I'd say that, so Straight Aaron came up against a team of absolute camels last week and put them to the sword off a slow tempo, so we had plenty against it there in terms of the way the race was run and smashed them. But I think these horses were a lot better bunch of horses. Like, I don't think Straight Aaron would have put 5 on these, but and I think there's a few horses that can sort of show up. Probably, again, most of them coming towards the end of their prep, though. I think Lock Eagle, it's a weird one. I think he had his chance on Saturday for sure. But I think the winner's a good horse. I think these are sort of definitely black type horses going forward into, Brisbane, potentially a few of them, Cotelee. I think they can measure up. I think it's a pretty good form race. Just a matter of trying to weed out who's at the end and who's still on the up.
I suppose we'll see where they go to from here. I don't think I can add any more to the race, really. I mean,
the winner's only second up.
Let me just get rid of that.
You're right. The winner's only second up, so I think it could end up in Brisbane without any trouble.
Yeah. Look, I mean, if it faces wet tracks up here, then
yes,
it'll be suited.
Yeah.
Lock Eagle's okay. Bendimeter's okay, as you say. The 4-4's sort of fair, but
they'll all be competitive up here, won't they? Like you would think in this sort of similar race, like, and it's only third up as well, Lock Eagle. So you'd expect it to nearly come up here as well. I think it will be a form race, not compared to the last one where they're all cast. These ones have probably still got a little bit on the up.
Yeah, maybe the first 3.
Yep.
Okay, let's get on to the championships final. The $500,000 provincial race here. Bless its heart, Kinloch got the job done with Nash in a very tight finish. And they've gone out a solid tempo here, so obviously suited the run-ons.
At the start, I'll just stop you. This, what's it called? Never
Talk.
Never Talk does get chopped out at the start, which does affect it. And then I'll let you keep talking.
Yeah, Kiss Some ran the best race sectionals from the 800 home through to 6, 4 and 2. Barossa Rosa, slow to recover. May Rose, slow to recover. Great News struggled with the 1400.
Big effort.
Big effort, though. Effort, though.
So was yours. Yours is still not in here. It's sort of 4 on 5 wide out there, which is definitely not easy. Great News has had to work a lot to get up outside the leader. It's run really well. And Kiss Some certainly looks something beaten, but you can't. I think the 2 best runs clearly are yours, the winner, Kinloch and Great News in the race. Again, this is a bit of a nothing thing going forward, isn't it? It's a bit of a race that you review just to say well done and unlucky, but where are these horses going to go now, Yeah,
well, I mean, Dylan Gibbons to Nash was obviously a fair difference, wasn't it?
It was, but I actually didn't expect it to run out of 1400 as strong as it did. I think it had query. Hang on, what have I got here? I marked it like $15. You were as much shorter, but very good first. A good ride. Track was good there. Now heavy 1400. So I was concerned about that jumping in distance, and I cannot believe how strong it was. It was a very good training effort, and it's like it's got a horse with 900 metre form. That was what I was worried about. Him running a strong 14, and he ran it right out.
Well, the 8-2 split that this horse recorded last start at Gosford there sort of gave me the confidence, or enough confidence, that the horse would run out the strong 14. it worked out well anyway, is all I can say. So
the price was the thing, I guess. I'm tipping that's why you've stepped into it too. It ended up pretty big odds considering it beat the favourite or second favourite. I'm not sure how it worked out in the qualifier.
Look, I do a lot of silly things, and I've marked this horse 13-4.
I hope you bet accordingly.
It was a nice result. Okay, let's move on to the Percy Sykes. We've got the next 1400 metre race for the 2-year-olds. Looks solid tempo here again.
1200.
Sorry, my mistake.
1200.
Sorry, my mistake. Race 4. I was jumping onto. I don't know why I was looking at race 3 still. Okay, the 1200 here for the 2-year-olds, and Paris Dior came back off 2 really good trials. Hadn't really beaten any in those trials, but did it stylishly and got the job done here after being pretty easy in the betting. There were a few people against it, 2-1 out to 3-1, but you could get better in places. Bit of specking for Lady Laguna. North Star Lass pulled up with slow recovery, and Ojai, well, he just didn't handle the track, I don't think, and that's also the opinion of others. What else do we say about the race here, John? Anything you want to add?
I think this is another one, like as it turned out, the winner was put away and saved and really set for this, given 2 quiet trials. The second horse is only second up, coming off a really solid win at Canterbury. What I'm trying to get to is that Lady Laguna went really well. I thought off a harder prep, but I think OJ, Dashing Legend, Swift Lass, all these horses that tried to get to the slipper didn't get there, were put away and given a trial, and 30 days between runs were basically all cooked. That just racing on those heavy tracks through the last sort of 6 weeks, maybe it's not as easy for a 2-year-old to back off and come again, is where I'm coming from. So I think that the best set, like the Snowden setup here, was incredibly smart to target this race, put this horse away and set it for the race. Willinga Beast is sort of just on the up off a normal preparation and had a little bit more freshness in its legs and probably dominant. And that's kind of, it looked like how it played out. Even Pantanario coming again on the inside there was coming off a spell as well. So I think the horses with the fresher legs that hadn't had the hard, heavy track racing came to the fore.
And both those 2 horses have gone right ahead in ratings too, the first 2 across the line. So yep. I assume maybe on to Brisbane?
Yeah, well, you'd say so because, they were off 63 days and what was Willinga Beast is only second up. So you would imagine there's not going to be much around. Most of these horses are going to be absolutely cooked. There'll be nothing in the first stepping up in distance. So you'd imagine they'll be trying to push on as much as they can.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to the
big field.
The Arrowfield Sprint, which I think used to be called the Royal Sovereign.
Yes.
Okay, so talking through my kick here, but what the hell was T. Berry doing here on?
You knew it was a big chance of happening, didn't you? You just knew it was the risk. I'm not saying it cost it the race, and this was weird that he missed the start on it as well. That Marzu got the jump on him, but another great ride from Clipperton, just completely outrode him.
Completely outrode him, and well done to them. And that horse is flying and pretty much gone as well. My figure's roughly the same as what it did last time and what it's been doing. Just to put this into contention here or to perspective, in the Congo to the 800, so we're talking about the start of the race, the first 400 ranked 111 on the day, to the 600, 115, to the 400, 113. He's absolutely walked. I posted something on Twitter the other day on Saturday. I think I said something along the lines of he's averaged something like 1.65 lengths fast in his last 4 runs to the 800 and gone about 5.3 lengths slow to the 600 here. So he's just gone way too slow. And
his strength is tiring other horses, isn't it? His strength is dragging the sprint out of other horses. And yeah.
Well, in the Congo, when it won the Golden Rose, went 7 lengths above to the 800. To give you an idea there. So you're talking about a 12-length odd turnaround. I think it did cost it the race.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to It's hard to say. Like I know where you're coming from, and if you like, I can't knock you having an opinion that it did. Is what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if T-Berry stays on now or what, but you were saying.
Did you read my reply?
I did see something about you're saying he's retained.
He's retained by Newgate, so at the moment he's given first option. I do know that the stable weren't very happy post-race with the ride, and I do know that it wasn't their preference for him to ride the horse, but I don't know what will happen in the future.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm lethal. The roughie in the race didn't handle the going. Let's move on to the Australian Oaks. Here, solid tempo here. The El Patroness got the job done.
Bless this horse for the day. This
I didn't see it.
Few problems. I only bet tiny on the day, but just expect it.
Now when Gypsy Goddess got into the position it got early, you would
times and margins.
Yes, exactly. You would.
It was very similar to Fangirl the week before, wasn't it? It was the only horse you wanted to be on. Yeah,
so look, I only had small bets in the race and did no good, but Hinged, I suppose, was brave enough, got beaten 5, but, Honey Creepers, it was just a bit of a myth, I think, coming off that last start win. Pink Ivory, well beaten there. I
think it's just tired. It's one of those horses. Well, it was one of these races where they've gone fast, haven't they? They've gone a solid, steady tempo, like a strong tempo, and these horses just cooked. They just can't run on because they're tired.
Pink Ivory slow to recover, so maybe something there. But look, I think we could probably move on unless you want to add something, John.
I don't think they're this would probably be the end of prep for most of these horses. Probably Gypsy Goddess is the horse that can move forward. El Patroness has probably had a soft enough prep. Only had this one hard run to go up to Brisbane too. Potentially, I wouldn't imagine you'd see a horse like Hinged up there, or definitely wouldn't be seeing a horse like Pink Ivory. Maybe Honey Creeper will, because they just don't think there's much more for her past her 3-year-old career. She doesn't look like she's going to go on to a Caulfield Cup or anything crazy like that. So these horses a few of them may end up in Brisbane. What you do with them, we'll worry about them.
Indeed. Let's talk about the Sydney Cup. Go, Rachel.
Mate.
I don't think I've seen a better ride. I mean, she quickened. She basically between the 8 and the 4 is when she had it won. She quickened up there mid-race, 5.9 fast.
It was a good ride.
It was look, I'm talking from a kick. It was an outstanding ride.
It was a good ride, but the horse has had the same ride its last couple of runs, and it was just a superior. I think the moons have aligned, and that time that it ran last week, we didn't know what to do with because it was so good. But the horse is obviously just airborne, and no doubt, like what she could have done is go too slow. 1,000,000% is go too slow. She didn't do that. She controlled it absolutely perfect. Took off at the perfect time. Agree with that. No one could have done a better job. But the horse did have the moons align and is absolutely airborne as well. And
really, the setup was perfect for it. That 4th up, 7-day back up to 2 miles, exactly the same as what they did with the Brisbane Cup campaign there. And that was, I suppose, what drew me to it. But the third horse has run some pretty slick sectionals from the 800 home, and certainly the best last 200 of the day, second best last 400 rating of the day. What else is there to talk about? Shiraz, look, it was galloped on, lost a plate, Surefire.
Surefire, the best. No, so who's the horse behind it? Shiraz is the one behind it,
The Doozdart, puncture wound in the off foreleg. Tiger, slow to recover. Chalkstream, slow to recover. Seems to be the new term for. I need to come up with an excuse.
Yeah. Stockman didn't look like he ran on a little bit, but peaked late. I don't know what to do with this.
How it was 7-2 the other day is beyond me. Anyway, it is substantially. Stockman was about 7-2 the other day, wasn't it? I think I said I had a double figures and I'd marked at 25. So.
Yeah,
I was chasing it out, trying to lay it, and I didn't really get to where I wanted to get to. So, anyway, all's well that ends well in that race.
Result.
So,
I wish we just had won the lead up. Where's the second horse? It'll come out and start even money in the bloody in something next start, won't it? Never, whatever it's called, Nerve Not Verve or something. Holy hell!
Oh, they ran a ridiculous time, which has to be marked back.
It does, but now this one's come out and franked it. Yeah, I think everyone will be sort of boosting it a little bit more than they probably should. I think it'll be starting nice and short wherever the hell it shows up. Nerve Not Verve, not justifying that it should be, but it will after this.
Perhaps.
So I'm just very happy that I chimed in at 2 runs in a row, and then you chimed in on grand final day and after me.
Well, that's the game we're in, I suppose. Now let's talk about the Queen
You
Elizabeth.
did talk me into saving on it.
Well, that's good. That's good. The Queen Elizabeth here. Look, average tempo. They haven't run time, and last 600 was pretty ordinary. Last 400 was ordinary. Last 200 was ordinary. What can we say? I mean, this is just an outstanding initiative from Nash, getting the horse to the outside after having cantered up down that section of the track in the previous race and making the decision to go there. I suppose the SP sort of, why not try something? Very elegant, disappointing. I hated Animo and I hated Very Elegant and managed to still lose on the race, so I didn't handle it well. I was on Zaki, Due and Montefilia, but Animo's gone terribly. It had did it have the blood disorder or something, Animo, during the week?
There was an off blood
there.
count or something, which was enough to scare me off. But this race will go down in history for me for 2 reasons. Nash's ride was great.
Fantastic.
But what the hell? The favourite second, well, Zaki's the only horse that basically finished the course of any horse that was in the race. If it was 20 years ago, you'd swear that the bookies got to everything in the race. You've got Very Elegant trying to move around now, Due sort of tracking it, everything's travelling okay. None of them finished the course, and they run horrific time. I know there was a bias to the track, but this is one of the great myths of racing, this one. Like, you've got Mount Popper runs past, Animo, Very Elegant, and holds off Due easily. How do you make sense of that? It's just a weird one, isn't it?
It's difficult. I don't have the race rating all that highly, but
great here what he does. Like he spends considerable amount of energy, but he doesn't. There's a horse later in the day tries to get wide. He gets about 8 wider than that horse gets. He gets seriously wide. Like it's not easy to even do that. Like the horsemanship to steer a horse to do that is incredible.
Well, he certainly didn't cover much extra ground doing it. I mean, you get the old Pythagoras theory into play there, and you'll work out the extra distance. It wasn't much, but
it's not easy to do.
No,
it's just,
not easy to do under those conditions.
No, if he was say where Montefilia is and the horse carries him out there, it's substantially easier. But to do it on your own like that and to get the horse to do it is not an easy task.
Now he's been fined 40 grand for excessive whip use.
In the format of the race, I think.
Is that fair?
So, I don't mean to pick on Tommy, right? Even though I've known get in trouble for it. But if you went back through the steward's report between now and January last year or whatever, he would be in there for striking a horse 8 times before the 100, a minimum of 100 times, a minimum. And not once that I can remember has he been even fined for it. And I don't understand. So they got him for 8 times here before the 100. Tommy hit in the Congo 8 times before the 100 in the steward's report. And all he got was a mention in there. Nash hits it 20 times in total. But I thought you're allowed to hit the horse within reason as many times as you wanted in the last section of the race, as long as you don't hit it consecutive strides or you raise hit it with a strange action. So what has he done differently on this horse to get him a $40,000 fine and 2 week suspension that Tommy didn't do on in the Congo?
I think the fine's excessive. I can see arguments for should it have kept the race. I can see arguments for it was fair.
But what's he done wrong? The 3 extra strikes or the 20 in total?
I think 40 grand's a bit exy. I mean, they're never ever going to, with the result, they're never ever going to uphold a race, are they? They can't. How can they?
I understand, but why wasn't there a look at in the Congo? I don't understand the difference. Is what I don't understand. The consistency with any of these rules, with change of tactics, with whip rules, there just seems so much leniency to just throw whatever you want at them, depending on, I'm going to use the word perception. Like this race is obviously looked at a lot more than others. Is there a perception issue here because he hits it 3 more times that they have to absolutely hammer him?
He's won.
He's won a big Group 1 race. Is that? And I don't understand. It's a deterrent, is it?
Did something naughty.
So it's a deterrent to give him 40,000 in 2 weeks, but a different jockey does the exact same thing early in the day and doesn't even get anything. It does your head in. It does your head in. But the funny part is, similar to Abdullah 2 weeks ago, or was it last week? This will be their headline that they'll use to frame racing for the spring and for the next autumn. And they've given him a $40,000 fine in 2 weeks for doing it.
No talk of the initiative being absolutely brilliant. But anyway.
Well, you have to hit a horse more times to get it to go out there. It's not easy to steer it. You watch him; he has to hit it to get it to keep going to the left. It's just, that's part of it. Him hitting it excessively is part of him getting out to that section. I understand he broke the rule, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Next.
Animo is going for a spell. Poor recovery, going for a spell.
Big chance the last time you see Animo. Big chance the last time we've seen Very Elegant. The two in front will definitely race on. Mount Popper will race on. Thunderstruck will race on.
It makes you wonder how Very Elegant did what it did in the Melbourne Cup.
Well, I think we were both of the mindset that she didn't look the same horse this prep, and even through the line, it's not as if she's gone terrible. Like, she still keeps trying, but I would imagine whatever that preparation took out of her is still affecting her now.
Yeah,
she's definitely not the same horse this prep, even though she's won a race.
Okay, on to the Queen of the Turf. Above average tempo here. And we saw a funny sort of result, I suppose, with Nimali getting the money.
This is my good result. Don't talk about my results as funny results and your good results as normal results.
Funny doesn't mean bad.
No.
Funny doesn't mean bad. I didn't back it. Well done to you.
No, I had a second pick. I was very surprised that the way the track was, that the price was held up the way it was. There was never a moral, and it won very well, but it was just a little bit of a crazy price considering it was not beaten far by similar horses. The Promise of Success, those horses much shorter in the market, Anavisto, and it didn't seem straight. It didn't seem justified, but anyway, good result. What do you do with this form?
Well, Colette, 9 to 4 out to 7 to 2. It's going for a spell. It's slow to recover. Didn't travel. Fangirl, I was thinking, Brenton will try and get to that part of the track. It didn't handle this particular heavy 10. Slow to recover. Don't know what you say. Anavisto, it just has trouble settling, doesn't it? I mean,
I was amazed it held the front, and look at it here. It's just, it wants to run. Just goes a bit keen at this level.
Ice Bath just continues to poke around and run competitive races there. Yonsei sort of held its rating from Melbourne. For mine, Promise of Success, sort of okay.
Had the right run, Promise of Success. It's
okay. Just a few failures there in the market sort of dragged the race back a bit for mine. Nimali, I mean, good on him. I mean, D. Oliver, I think he's now got the record. Is he Group 1s or something?
He does. I don't, all these people worried that there wasn't a big carry on about it, but, whatever. He's just a great jockey. He has been for a long time. Gave this horse an absolutely perfect ride. Right part of the track, right spot in the race, got the perfect drag, perfect prep. Well done to Matthew Smith. This horse, like you said, have you seen how much money Ice Bath has won? It's won like $6 million or something. Insane, Ice Bath. It's not a horse. It's just a great horse for racing because you can bet around it every time. The owners have made $6 million. They're over the moon, and it just keeps doing the same thing every start. I hope it stays around till it's a 10-year-old Ice Bath. It's always taking up about 15 or 20% of the market, and if it beats you, you can cop it on the chin, can't you?
Sort of underrated, this Nimali, I think. This is certainly its best preparation.
There's no fluke to the win. What's her record? Good? she's
Can't see any reason why it can't continue to perform well. So
no, and again, you've got a range of horses here that are at different stages of their preparations. Horses like Lighthouse that clearly need a break. Colette clearly needs a break. Fangirl, I'd just be forgiving that. It was just that was an impossible task from back there, and I doubt that too many of them will go forward. Just sort of look at them all again wherever they pop up next. These ones you just want to be keeping a close eye on it all.
Okay, the lucky last, Sapphire Stakes, solid tempo here. Tricky Gal nearly got the job done with the blinkers first time.
Wish it
Certainly
did.
helped it. Emanate, maybe just not a Randwick horse.
Yeah, it found the right sort of spot to run on a bit, didn't it? I thought they rode Bellucci Babe a bit close. Looked the winner, but just doesn't run out a strong 1200. I'm very confident I know that horse well. I don't think she's ever gone better. I didn't think the winner would be as strong as it was, actually, sort of sitting wide and working for most of the race. She was a bit strong. This sort of a good example of you could run on over these shorter distance a little bit better. That's Tricky Gal back second last and sort of came back towards the inside. I thought it was the winner at the 100, to be honest, but
did save a fair bit of ground, I suppose, didn't it?
It did. It had a bit of honey creeper about it, the way it sort of cut through the middle and didn't go around too many either. It was a funny race. I thought the horses on speed were always going to be sort of gasping for air at the end of it, and the back markers were going to have to struggle. But Emanate certainly didn't. Was the disappointing runner of the race, I would imagine. What do you do with them? There's a few here that can go up to Brisbane.
What about Menage? It seemed to be a different horse with John O'Shea last preparation in Melbourne. Randwick, and then went to Melbourne. Then it's come back and sort of gone okay first up and just
had the back of the winning year, isn't it?
What do we say about Menage?
Yeah, I actually didn't think she'd find as good a spot as she did in the race, and I definitely can't find an excuse for her. She's had the back of the winner the whole way and loomed into it, and then week late, like she just might be. You would say D-Day is probably very close for her. Whether they want to give her one more try on a dry track.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Dry track, it might be the go for it.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to talk to you about that. That's what it makes form just as difficult for anybody, say, in the next month if the tracks dry up. So then you've got to work out, what horses have been racing with their hands tied for the past month, which horses are cooked from racing on these tracks, and which ones are going to bounce out and improve 10 lengths. And it's going to happen, isn't it?
You're going to get a lot of form reversals, and I think realistically you can just forgive most of those horses back in the field in a lot of those races anyway.
That's it.
It didn't perform because it was just near impossible to do so. But
so horses that go to Brisbane, find a dry surface, you're going to be forgiving of them probably over how much it's killed them, unless they've had a lot of hard racing. I guess it's going to be a bit of a guessing game.
It'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. Okay, so that's it from my point of view in terms of horses to follow. I'm only going to suggest one, and that's Nimalee.
Yeah, well, she's definitely looked on the up in the prep too. Like she can definitely go up to Brisbane in that Mares series and has that perfect racing style to be dominant on all those tracks, whether it be Doomben or Eagle Farm. I think you found a good horse there. The two-year-olds in Paris Dior and Willinga Beast can both go to Brisbane and run well for mine. I thought they were the two I was most interested in, to be honest.
Yes. Okay, questions. Let's talk about Top Sport, who are our sponsors for the show. If you don't have an account,
even though we don't need it, but I'll put it up.
You should have an account, and of course, with all the group racing and black type racing going on at the moment, just simply means that you can get on for bigger amounts earlier, and of course, those minimums apply from the moment they go up. And on bigger race days, of course, the limits will.
Sorry.
There we go. We've got a bit of a intro again. So let's get on. Let's get on the questions. Look, we don't. In terms of question of the week this week, we don't really have a winner. We couldn't find one. So what we're going to do is jackpot this week's $100. Next week it'll be $200. So make sure you get your questions in for next week. It can be anything to do with the weekend's racing or just racing in general. And of course, any time after sort of Saturday to races have been run, you can start sending them through. You can direct message John or myself, and we'll certainly get onto those and hopefully find a winner next week for a lazy 200.
We're just a bit light on. I think everyone's half cooked after a long few days with these heavy tracks and everything, maybe. So, jackpotting up might inspire a few more to come out of the woodwork with some more interesting and exciting questions.
Let's hope so. So one this week, the first one is from Steve. Why did nearly all of the Godolphin colours fail to handle the track on Saturday? Animo, Colette, Emanate all pulled up out of the race and were heavily supported. Look, I had a bit of a look. They had 10 runners at Randwick on Saturday. The blue colours, expected winners 1.46, actual winners 1. Yes, they've underperformed a bit. Perhaps not as bad as it seems. And some of those runs obviously can be forgiven. Animo going for a spell and pulling up there, as you say, but had an excuse. Colette, Emanate may not be a Randwick horse. But yeah, look, realistically, the stable's not going great in terms of recent runs. Certainly underperforming, but in terms of Saturday runners only, on the big day, 10 runners, 1 winner. Expected winners 1.46, so not too bad. That's based on a 100-ized SP. Anything to add, John?
No, I think I think it's tough to pick on Godolphin. Not that that's what the question's doing, but I think it's tough to pick. There were so many horses that failed, especially in the positions that those horses found themselves in the races. Emanate was probably the only one that didn't, and its form at Randwick has been iffy as well. So you've just got to be, I think, pretty forgiving of most horses on Saturday.
Okay, Christopher's got a couple of questions here. How did the track play and why did it play that way? Seemed you couldn't come from right back and get into the race. Was the straight better when the horses hit the front? They just skipped away. Look, I mean, the configuration was that it was likely to, with that rail position, to suit those on speed. In terms of fairness, we saw a few make runs up the inside and do okay, Tricky Gal and a few others earlier in the day. I haven't got the lanes data yet, so I can't sort of comment with any authority. Most of them sort of came sort of that 5, 6, 7, 8 off down the middle. And of course we saw Nash do what he did with Think It Over, who's a horse that just simply doesn't handle the ground. So it just simply may not have been a fast lane as such, certainly drier, but might have just suited that horse a lot better. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think you've got to be careful that thinking down the outside was better because of what Nash did. He found a lane that no one went near. He went 10 horses wider than, I think there was one horse in the last of Portelli's that tried to get out there, but I think it was certainly hard to come from back and wide and circle. And as you said, like over the shorter courses, a few horses cut up the inside and were able to run on. The longer distances, nothing basically sustained a run. So there was certainly something to it, whether it's, just they were all gassed by the time they got to the straight. I don't think there was any wind or fast lanes in the track or anything like that. But you've got to be very forgiving of anything that was back in the ruck in the staying races, anything mile plus, I think, especially.
Yes, and one other question there from Christopher. Do all jockeys walk the track? No. If so, does Nash be the only one to try out there wide later in the day? They're all hesitant, scared. Also, why did no one else go out there again later after that race? I suppose you've got to have the field size to be able to get there.
It's not easy to do that. It's just not that easy.
Well, not under those conditions, it's not, I don't think.
And from out the back, you couldn't really do it. You had to be in the position he was in. You had to have the horse to do it. I think he's correct that a lot of jockeys are hesitant or scared to change a horse's pattern, because you imagine if he was on Very Elegant and he did that and it was unsuccessful, what happens then? It was probably the perfect storm for him to try it on a horse that doesn't handle the ground, was out in the market, and and he's also got the skill to do it. So it was, it was just a freakish effort.
If it was on a well-fancied horse, we'd have cries of Viander Cross.
Yes. And then everyone, why didn't they follow him? It's funny. You look back, think, maybe everyone went off a bit too much about the ride. But I don't think they did. In this case, it was so special the way he just made the decision at a certain point there, and the way Nash is, anyone who knows him, he's not as if he'd been thinking about it for 3 weeks prior. He's obviously literally gone out, cantered that horse around the race before, picked up a thing or two, and thought, well, let's have a crack at it,
I'm on a 40-1 chance.
Yeah. Who doesn't handle the ground? So let's have a go.
Chance, yeah, have a go.
Yeah, and he's got the skill to pull it off.
And Clinton sort of asked too. He said, "I know it's hard to estimate, but how much do you think it over benefited from the shift outside, considering the shift at the turn to get there in the first place? A length or so, or maybe more." Well, look, I've got no lane data yet, so I'm not going to sort of get drawn into that. But it obviously helped the horse. What did he burn in terms of extra ground to get there? Not much.
No.
Is it worth a length, 2 lengths? I don't know. But I mean, it was a winning move. If he hadn't have done that, he doesn't win. That simple. Zaki holds the race.
If you had to gamble on if it helped him, it certainly must have. How much you would have to say is probably significant. Even though that there was nothing really ran on and the time was slow in the last section and everything. If he stays at the same portion of the track as Zaki, you'd expect Zaki to beat at home, wouldn't you? Like you would have to say it was a winning move.
I think so.
Even though it's a calculated statement.
Yeah, well, it depends how you look at it, right? I mean, do you look at that horse in isolation, or do you look at every horse at that price? I mean, at 40-1, he's gone about 9 lengths better than you'd expect a 40-1 chance to go. But that's over a large amount of data.
And that's including the race quality overall?
No, that's just simply talking about. Excuse me, I'll just get rid of that. That's just talking about SP only. So we're talking about a 40-1 chance.
Okay.
And
so he probably hasn't gone 9 lengths better when you adjust.
No, he hasn't gone 9 lengths better. And look, in terms of early ratings on the race, I've got him going as good as he's gone this prep, but not as good as he was back in the Wink Stakes and George Main and everything.
So it's a combination of other horses not performing to their peak, him
partly
outperforming how everyone thought he would because of the conditions of the day, and Nash certainly looks like he's helped that by finding a section of the track that aided his horse.
We got a 40-1 winner, and you got Mount Popper and Delisand filling 3rd and 4th placings at 60s and 80s. So
it's a weird race.
It's a bit of a weird race.
I couldn't find it now, the winner.
Look, one here from Nigel. It's just something that came up this morning with Grafton on today. There was, and let me just pull up my notification here from Racing Australia.
There's a weird one.
Yeah, there was a bunch of distance changes today at Grafton because of the heavy 10. They were saying some sections of the track were unraceable. So they made the 1430-metre races 12:25 and the 11:25-metre races 9:50. And there was quite a few of those. So Nigel's question was if we had any thoughts on whether or not there should be fresh betting given the significant changes involved. I mean, 11:25 versus 9:50 is it's a different land, right?
100%. And okay, well, who makes the decision that they move it back 200 instead of up 100? I don't know who makes it. To answer your first question, 100% all betting should be scrapped.
I think so. When it's that significant, we're talking 11:25. You just cannot compare to 9:50. You can't compare to 1,000 metres, in my opinion.
No.
But look, I think that's a fair comment, Nigel. I think there should be fresh betting. And
if it's within 5 or 10% or something, surely they could work it out that way, I guess. That it's a new market or something like. I also agree with you. It's just a different. It's like saying, Kathy Freeman, you're a freak over the 400. Now run over 200. It's.
Well, these markets have been up for a few days, right? So the market's settled on horses at different places in the market, different rankings in the market. and suddenly we're going to go from, 11.25 to 9.50. A lot of those horses have just put them out of play straight away, surely.
Absolutely, and you've bet accordingly.
Well, if you
not
bet
knowing
on
that
it,
this is going to take place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can understand slight variations, but yeah, I think that's pretty significant. And even the 1400, 1430s down to 12.25, I think that's significant as well.
Yeah, if it's outside of like 5%, I think it's probably realistic. If you even 10, like 11 to 1,000, 12 to 11, but anything more is definitely significant.
And what about when they go up in distance?
Well, you totally adjusted your betting the other day when that race was shifted from 2,000 to 1850, the mares race, whatever it was, the Vinery.
Hinged, yeah. I was more confident with Hinged at the 1850 and had a bigger bet than what I would have had it remained at 2,000 metres.
Yeah, and you didn't get the result there, but you're probably right. Like, it's had a nice run in the Oaks and hasn't run it out. So it was definitely a positive for Hinge coming back. It was a different race the way you looked at it, and you're right. So I don't understand why anyone their bet should be held that they're bet on a race that now no longer exists.
Yeah, well, okay. So race 2 today was Grafton was a 11.25 back to 9.50. We've got a 10 to 9 on favourite and 5 to 2 second pick roughly. Neither of those two have won. We've got a 50 to 1 winner there. So interesting. Short price favourite in the third, it was sort of like 2 to 5. In the fourth race, second pick won it. That was a longer race. The fifth race was one of those 1400 odd back to 12 odd, and that was a sort of like a 4th, 5th pick in the market. The 10 to 9 favourites run third. What else have we got here? The second favourite in race 6. So yeah, maybe a little bit of a mixture there, but
well, it's hard to say what the betting's done between now and then. Like, you would imagine they've moved a lot since the changes this morning.
Well, I redid my autos this morning after it, and in a bit of a hurry, and it looks like it might have been all right for us here, just looking at some of those results so far. But yeah, there was some decent changes, I know, in the auto prices that I had this morning when the distances were intact before the change versus what they were post the change.
And that shows, with no human element whatsoever, just your autos, that changes the race.
It did change the race. In fact, it changed around not only prices, but some of the rankings.
Yeah. That should be enough. That should be all that it takes for someone to get it through their head that it's not the same event.
Yeah. Anyway,
thank you.
Bit of a lackluster weekend, I suppose, given the way the racing was, but we got away with a few dollars, and hopefully we can do it again this week. We've got, I think, day 3 next week, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
All aged would be.
All age Champagne, Hallmark Stakes is a Group 3. So the two main races, the All Aged and the Champagne Stakes, are the only 2 Group 1s. There's a bunch of Group 3s, and that's about it. So getting to the end of the carnival, but still a couple more interesting. I'm assuming Fireburn will be, 5 to 2 on or something.
Let's talk about the race later in the week and not worry about prices at this point in time.
It'll be short, is what I'm saying. It'll be dominant. It'll be a dominant favourite this time. I don't think you'll be getting your $2.80 this week, Paul.
It's got to run the 1,600 yet, John.
What are you trying to get $2.80? Yeah, good luck.
Okay, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back Thursday for the preview, and I'll be in new digs, I think, by then in terms of setup, and get into the weekend's racing and look forward to hopefully winning some of the followers a few more dollars. Thanks for watching.
Cheers, guys.